What guan, people of God? Listen, I thought I'd share this just because. So I shared in the video a while back. I changed the tensioner pulley and the idler pulley on this car because I heard some like squeaking sound that stopped the squeaking sound. But then I heard some hard rattling like a chain or a bearing. And so I couldn't really tell where it was coming from just by standing over it, listening to it. So what I got was, I'm about to show you. I think I shared this already though. This little car stethoscope. It's for the car, like this. So I put these on. Show you. Well, it ain't gonna make the noise now. Well, I can't crank it up anyway because I ain't got everything back together. But I put these on, and it comes with this little wand. And I took the tip of this wand here. I took the tip of this, and I touched the idler pulleys that I replaced. I didn't hear anything. Also, when I first took the belt off and checked all the pulleys, I didn't feel anything. Everything spent fine, and I didn't hear anything except for this here power steering pump. Let me show you. Turning all the pulleys, and I only heard noise in this power steering pump, but it's supposed to pump, and so that noise that I heard in here was normal. And then so I put the little wand on the alternator right here, and I could hear that same noise, that chain noise that I was hearing it coming from the alternator. So what I did was I took this alternator off. I just put it back in place now, and I thought, you know what, I should have shared this. So anyway, I'm trying to share where I'm at. I took this alternator off. I took it to my nearest O'Reilly's. They tested it. They said this alternator is good. It's passed. I was like, that can't be true. So I took it to another store, AutoZone, so they could test it. And they put it on, and they said, oh, this alternator is good. It passed. Well, I knew I heard the noise in the alternator. So this right here is the alternator, the pulley, the clutch pulley, right? You can see that spinning freely in there. So I went to this nice older guy. He is a guy that has a shop where he rebuilds alternators and starters. So I told him, I said, I think this pulley is going bad. It has bearings in it, and because the alternator is passing the test, but I'm hearing the noise. So is that okay to keep this alternator and just replace the pulley, this was the old pulley I had on it, right? And so when you take this pulley off, he says, yeah, you passed the electrical test then. So the thing about it was he had no pulley for this alternator. He says there, I'm gonna put the phone out so I can take this cap off. Okay, so this is how the top of that pulley down there looks. That one has another cap on it as well, but this is how the top of this pulley looks. And all you just got to do, this is how it looks on the back side. And when this thing locks up, it won't allow. He had one on the inside of this where he showed me how when you press one way, it allows it to go one way but not the other. So that's when the bearing is like locked up in it. And what happens is this pulley, it takes a special tool with teeth to remove this, right? And all you do is you put if you got the special socket that goes in here, you put another socket on, you put your impact wrench on it when you got the alternator out, and you just zip it off, and it doesn't even take 5 minutes. You can zip it off. However, he has a tool, but he doesn't have any of these alternator clutch pulleys. He said they're becoming scarce. So he says, if you can find it, then I'll let you use my tool, to take it off. So I tried to find it. None of the local parts stores have it. This part is not really that expensive, but being that it's scarce, you can reasonably find it for $50-$60, but it is scarce. So the parts store, they didn't have it. I found it on Amazon. It's a dormant part, but prior to me looking on Amazon, I called the dealer, and the dealer had it, which is Valero, which is an OEM, is made by Valeo, not Valero, Valeo, and that's also the alternator is also Valeo, right? So they just had a, a this is not the stock alternator. I've replaced this alternator before. It was a Zen bearing on here. This clutch pulley is made by Zen. So anyway, so the dealer had it, and they wanted $300 just for this simple clutch. The parts store, they didn't have it. They'd have to order it, and they could have it in like 48 hours. And the part that they were going to order was Dorman, which Dorman is really good. 300,857 is the part number, and they wanted like $100. That wouldn't have been bad if I didn't find Dorman as well. So I found Dorman, a brand new Dorman clutch, um, the same part number, 300,857, on Amazon for like $60. And then I also found another guy who actually, his supplier was able to get him one today, Valio. So I went ahead and got with that guy and got his, and now when my Dorman comes, I'll just keep it. And I also ordered him a special tool. It's like a 32 teeth tool, but there's a whole kit that you can order to remove alternator clutch pulleys. And so that's what I's up to. So I'm gonna, being that these are scarce, this is a bad one. I've got me another one coming by Dorman. I'll keep it. And then I've got me a set of tools where I can remove the clutch pulley, so I won't have to take it anyplace else if I decide, if you know, if it goes bad again. But anyway, this is what I'm sharing. So this clutch pulley was bad, and it was making noise, chain like noise, as if it was like a chain that was going bad or something. And so I'm just tightening up the alternator now, and then I've got to put the I took the power steering pump out so that I could have more room to just pull it straight up. And I also loosened the coolant hose, which is right there. I've got it plugged up, but I'll start plugging all this stuff back up, and then I've got to reset the timing belt, make sure I get the timing belt aligned properly. And I took this wheel off because I wasn't able to, it took me a minute to get the alternator set back in place. And so I took this cover off to come down here to make sure I was meeting that bolt right there. That's the bottom alternator bolt. And I put the bottom bolt in first, just so I could sit it in place where it was supposed to go. But it seemed like it was very difficult for me to get it back in place. So I took that cover off just to make sure I wasn't, you know, I had it aligned properly. So that's what I was up to. I'm going to tighten up this bolt, and then I'm going to put this power steering pump back on. I'm going to connect the coolant hose. I need to plug up let me see, on the back of the alternator here, there's a nut that I've got to tighten up. It's a 12mm nut, which is what ties it to the battery, which is what gives it power. And that has to be tight in place. So I've got that tight, and then I've got to plug up everything. I've got to plug back up the AC compressor, plug back up the alternator, and then crank her up. I got to connect the negative back on the battery, and then that's it. Your girl is done. And then I've got to hook up this bracket. This is piece size loose to give me more space. So stand by. Let me hook everything up, and I will let you hear how it runs. The noise will be gone. Getting this power steering pump back aligned, it was a pain getting that bottom bolt right there, where that bottom bolt has to meet this stud that's stuck right there. I got the bottom bolt in. You got to turn this wheel to get the bolt. So what I did was, I'm getting that back bolt in now, but I got this, you can't turn that because I got the wheel in the way, but bottom bolt right there. I got it started and it goes all the way across. So getting that bottom bolt in first, it aligns this pump. So I found that was easier versus I tried to start this first and I just couldn't get it aligned. Then I tried to start the second one and I got it in there, but everything else was off. So I was like, well, the bottom bolt, it goes all the way across. So at least if you get that all the way across, you've got it kind of level and then you can play with it a bit. So that's what I did for the bottom bolt, getting this power steering pump together. This was a pain in the butt, but now I'm tightening it. Then I use this and a zip tie to cut off the power steering hose so that no fluid would leak. And then I use this extension to plug up this hose that goes over that. Once I get the bolts and everything aligned, then I'll hook back up the power steering hose. And I can actually go ahead and hook the coolant, put the coolant hose back on now. But once I get everything aligned, then I'll hook the hose up, tighten the coolant clamp, get the belt aligned, get it back in place, put the battery on, then I'll start her up. So I have the power steering and everything hooked back up, but now I'm putting the belt on with my new Billy 2 serpentine belt. This belt will assure that you can do it all by yourself when you are putting this really tight serpentine belt on. But I gotta unhook the power steering hose again. Hopefully no fluid comes out this time, and then I'll have more space. See, I got it on. Woo! It was still tight, but see how you can keep repositioning this tool. Now it's good to go. Serpentine's belt is back on. And I can reinstall the coolant line. Then while I'm letting it run, I'll put all these tools up, and pretty sure I'm gonna have to add some more coolant. So I'll let it build pressure up and run for a bit while I'm putting all the tools and stuff up. Okay, I got it running, and yeah, so it was the bearing, alternator clutch pulley, the bearings in the alternator clutch pulley. So the root of the problem is fixed, because what the noise would do, it would start when I started up and then it would go away. But I also had two different types of noises, and now I repaired the major noise. It was that rattling thing, that hard rattling chain like sound. So that solves the main, I guess the worst issue that I had, or the loudest issue that I had prior to the changing the idler pulley and the tensioner. So it's got two new tensioners, and now the alternator clutch pulley is replaced, and everything is good to go. That's what I've been up to. I hope you guys had a wonderful and amazing day. I'm about to let this thing stay running while I put all of this stuff away. You know, it was kind of startling at first when I realized the clutch pulley was bad, and then they were like, the guy was telling me how scarce the parts are. So I'm glad to know that I'll have an extra one just in case I ever need it, you know? So y'all have a blessed day.